Hey, how you doing? This is John. Welcome to John's Long Box. Today, we're going to be checking out Villains in Vigilante, the superhero role-playing uh, revised rules by Jeff D. and Jack Herman. Hey, Lacey Lee is here. How you doing? Thank you for coming. I was concerned about you. I didn't realize that you and Abrax were a happily married couple. That is awesome. Two great tastes that go great together. Ah, And as always, I got my coffee over here, except for today, it's Dunkin' Donuts coffee. It's not Tim Hortons coffee because I ran out of Tim Hortons, went to Dunkin' Donuts. And then, hey, Marcus, how you doing? Hey, Marcus, I got whole beans and didn't have a grinder, so I had to go and get a grinder right away because whatever, I'm just a jerk. So everything's a little late today, but I was a little flummoxed. I was a little perplexed. I was a little flabbergasted, but I am fine. Wow, never heard of it. Kevin Ryan, my buddy, good Kevin Ryan, practically my co-host here. I just lost my train of thought because I've been running around like a maniac getting this coffee. And I thought I would take out this superhero role-playing game. It's too big to actually show the whole thing, and I don't want to start messing with the camera. But here is the top. The 2000 is not the year. That's just the model. The first edition was 1000, and then all the modules were like 1001, 1002. This is the second edition, so it's 2000. The actual year is so this is Fantasy Games Unlimited. I don't know if you can see that, but this was Roslyn, New York. It was near my house where it came out. Now, Roslyn, rather, was a town near my town. So here's the copyright. This is 1982. Okay, I just wanted to show the indicia right now. We'll talk a little bit. Wow, we got 4 people. Oh, Marcus remembers this game. So first off, why am I breaking this out? I'm breaking this out because at noon today, I got friends coming over for playing for the first time. My friend Jimmy and I have been playing this game since probably 1982. Jimmy and I went to grammar school together. We became friends in 3rd grade, and we've been playing this game ever since. My friend Carl taught me how to play. Before that, we played Dungeons and Dragons. Here's a little rundown of my role-playing games history. I went to my friend Mike's house. My friend Mike D. He's also a member of this channel. He's also making a comic coming out on Argo Comics. I think it's called The Death of Marshall Strong, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I went to his house, and his older brothers were playing Dungeons and Dragons. I was with my friend John, who was a cool guy. He wasn't into Star Wars. He wasn't into Lord of the Rings. We kind of drifted apart. He is an excellent guitarist, played in bands. The guy is like the closest to Eddie Van Halen that I've ever met in my real life. But we kind of parted ways. Nothing wrong. We just grew apart. I developed my nerd stuff, comics, Dungeons and Dragons, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings. He developed his let's pick up chicks and play guitar stuff. And I can't compete with that when I'm into hobbits and he's into boobies. So whatever. But we went to Mike's house, and his older brothers were playing Dungeons and Dragons. And I just remember just sitting there watching them. They were just they would do it a classic dungeon crawl with maps. The DM had a map behind his screen, and the players were drawing their map as they were playing, and they would just describe everything. And I thought it was so cool, and they thought I was an annoying little kid. And that I kept getting glances until I realized I had to. Plus, my friend John, who I was with, was not interested, so we left. And he was like, "You like that? You thought that was fun?" I was like, I couldn't wait to play. And then I went back to Mike's house and I said, let's play that game. And he broke out Boot Hill, which was a cowboy role-playing game. And we took about an hour to make up a character, only to get killed in the first 5 minutes by a gunshot. The first edition of Boot Hill was brutal. Does anybody remember that? We played Gamma World, which was a lot of fun. But we always went back to Dungeons and Dragons. We played. My friend Carl, who was our first dungeon master, and I call it the blue hand of fate. After there was no story, it was just hack and slash. And yep, here we talk about the D&D. I forgot that I could do this. I'm still waking up. Marcus remembers this game. Marcus, hell, John. Hey, Marcus, good to see you. And it's good to see Lacey. Lacey, it's good. I was worried about you when I haven't seen your name in a while. I do that. Like Jeff Hatcher, I worry about him, and War Duke, Arthur Tripp, I haven't seen in a while. So I kind of worry about the people that I see a long time and then I don't see anymore. But anyway, let's get back to this. So we were playing D&D, and it was hack and slash. There was no stories, and I kind of stopped liking Dungeons and Dragons because I didn't realize it at the time. But Carl was like a mean DM. He shoehorned us. He didn't reward creativity, and it was really, really annoying. So I got frustrated and I wanted to run. So I started making stuff up, and man, I was like super generous. Like I was going to be everything that he wasn't. And I realized that I was just as bad, but in the other direction. Nobody ever died. Everybody leveled up, and everybody wanted to, and we started like you'd go to I started we would just like take, Sean would show up in my game and he's like, I have a 10th level Ranger Barbarian, and he would have all the coolest magic items and everything. And he would easily defeat the stuff I set up and back and forth. So then I just, out of the blue, I made up my rule. You could only use characters that you made up with me. And if you take your character to another game, another DM, it can't come back. Because I started to realize I wanted to make a world, a continuity. I didn't realize it at the time, but I started world building, and I started like naming the artifacts and giving them stories. At this point, believe it or not, I played Dungeons and Dragons before I got into Lord of the Rings. When I got into Dungeons and Dragons, that's how I started finding out about Lord of the Rings and got interested in it. Once I started getting into Lord of the Rings, I realized how a campaign could be. So let's see. I'm going to be watching Dan Law's vid on drawing horses, by the way. At the same time, you got two monitors? Cool. Hello, greetings, Chuck. Good to see you, Genuine Comics. How's it going? Mark, stick around. We're going to be drawing flies. What do we got here? Hello, John. Oh, okay. Everybody's saying hello. I like that. Everybody, it's a big, fun community. So I didn't realize it, but I started to want to world build, and I was like being very particular about the magic items. They had stories and stuff like that. And then the next thing I started to do was, when they got magic items, they didn't know what they did. I would have them on index card, and when they took them out, I'd take out they started to discover. I thought it was fun. My friend Jimmy loved it because he's all into role playing. Yeah, all the characters had 18s and old. Yes, exactly, Kevin. You know exactly what I'm talking about. That's exactly it. So I started to gatekeep my world. No other way to describe it. And I have to say, Carl stopped playing, and I'm still playing. So we'll leave it at that. I like Carl. We were kids. We were immature kids. And then somewhere around this time, we discovered Villains and Vigilantes, and I forget which one of the group discovered it first. But once you go V&V, you don't go back. I have never played Dungeons and Dragons since I got this game. Now, a little history of this. When I went to Stony Brook University, and I forget what year I went. I think I started in 1989, and I lived in a suite with 6 other guys. And it's a school on Long Island, and I live on Long Island, and everybody in Stony Brook, for the vast majority of them, live in Long Island. So Thursday night was the party night. We would have kegs of beer, and I would be a DJ. Not like a DJ like raves. I'd play my punk rock records. You've seen my Monday music, which I need to get back to. So I was the guy with all the records. So I would play all the music and everything like that. And then Friday came, and then it was a ghost town. And I didn't go away to college to go to a ghost town. So my suite, we would be hanging out watching TV, and next thing you know, we started playing Risk. And then I had this game called Conquest of the Empire. We played Conquest of the Empire, which was a step up from Risk. and we'd go to Play World. We'd get those plastic swords and armors and helmets and everything like that, and we're hitting each other with swords as we were playing. We were getting into it. So I forget which one of us said, but I didn't, because I thought they would make fun of me. They were like, you guys ever play Dungeons and Dragons? You want to play Dungeons and Dragons? I was like, I have everything. And it's funny because one of the guy, Paul, who's the co-administrator of my website, Villains of Vigilance. So guys, I can't type right now because my tripod is in the way. But I'll put the link in the description after this post. But if you go to www.villainsandvigilantesforum, that's all one word, villainsandvigilantesforum.com. That's my website. Our buddy Paul, who I met in Stony Brook, he's the co-administrator. We both do it. I'm more the content guy. He's more the tech guy. So, and I've been neglecting that site. I've been running that site since pretty much around this time. Geez, I didn't realize it was that long. And it died, and I lost all of my information. We started a second version of it. I got a little smarter. I started to save my information, but that died, and I lost all my information. Now what we have is the third version that probably doesn't have long for this world. So I got to download all the information and save it. But while it's up, it's villainsandvigilantesforum.com. And I just started writing all my sessions. So now I'm playing Villains Vigilantes, and we're playing this. So we go to Stony Brook. I bring up all my second edition Dungeons & Dragons book, and I write a campaign, and I'm running a game. At one point, it was just me and four of my 6 suite mates. One wasn't interested. Then he joined. Next thing you know, other people joined. I probably had like 11 players at one point at the height of it. And it was one long, huge, continuous campaign that we actually finished. It was awesome. We would play Friday night. We would play Saturday night. We would play Sundays. What's this comment? If you were going to be the DJ at college parties, you signed up for 37. No. I was just, I was a freak going to records. Matter of fact, like during Sunday, during the day, I would go to Manhattan and go to records. This was the height of me collecting all those punk rock records and, rock and roll work. And then a lot of people ended up, this was when CDs started coming out. So everybody would give me their LPs. So I had a huge LP collection, but I digress. So now we're playing Dungeons & Dragons. The campaign winds down, and I'm like, hey guys, you want to try this Villains Vigilantes? But they weren't into superheroes, but I wanted to play this. I like this system a lot better, so I had to change it up a bit. So it was 150 years in the future. It was space and science fiction, and so that sold them on it. So I changed the campaign to space in the future, and then we played. Oh my god, that was so much fun. A couple of years later, I move out to Albuquerque. I'm not playing. Now I'm in Albuquerque. I meet a new group of guys. They're playing Magic. No, they're playing Vampire the Masquerade. So I'm playing that game, which is fun. But I have to say the DM, he was everything was the same. Wake up, go find people. There was no story. He was just facilitating us controlling the action, which was fun. But there was no story. There was no long-term planning. There was, you know what I mean? It was just like, wake up, do stuff, consequences of our actions. Do stuff, consequences of our actions. And, and after a while, I was like, hey, I got this Villains Vigilante game, and we played. So it was current year, full-on superheroes. No. I'm sorry. They were 20 years in the future of my other campaign. So everything that happened, because I was building on that. And now we're playing almost 200 years in the future at this point, sci-fi space. And that we played that for a year. It was long-term plans and everything. It was a lot of fun. I came back in 2000. So now it's 2000. I meet up with Jimmy, my old player, Paul from Stony Brook. Paul and Jimmy meet for the first time. And and my other roommate, Jan and Brett, we play. And now it's set in the current year. And we're playing full-on regular superheroes. And it was awesome. It only took me 10 years to get to what I actually liked. So now we're playing full-on superheroes, but it's the current year of our other campaign. So in the future, all that stuff was. So it's funny because I alluded to stuff in the past in that game, and Paul and Jan years later, they're like, "Oh my God, that's what's going to happen." This guy, So there we go. Now we're caught up. 15 minutes of me rambling, and we will open up this book. So let's look at this book. This is art by Jeff D. I've always loved this art, and I was always like, I would love to see a comic book drawn by Jeff D. And Jack Herman, for those of you who do not know, Jack Herman, at this point, he was writing The Elementals. The Elementals was a comic created by Bill Willingham of Fables fame and drawn by him. And I loved it. The only problem was it was hard to find. It was Comico, and then I think another company, and Comico went under, so it was hard to find the comics. It came out infrequently, so you couldn't predict it. It would just show up. The next thing you know, issue 7 came out, and you're like, wait a minute, I only got issue 4. And then you had to go and find the back issues. And then after a while, Bill Willingham left it. Jack Herman was writing it. And supposedly Alan Moore, because Jack Herman would say in all the interviews that Alan Moore asked him who his favorite writer was, and he said Jack Herman. So I don't know if that's true. I've looked for that interview, I can't find it, but whatever. Jack Herman's a good guy. Note that I said Jack Herman's a good guy. So I'm at this point now. It's the early 2000s, so let's jump up again to 2010. I'm giving you guys all the drama first before we look at the book. You guys want the drama? Thumbs up if you want the drama. Hit the likes, whatever. I'm being silly. So now 2010 comes around, and all of a sudden, this game is dead. Nobody's playing it. There's a tiny little online community. I'm not joking. If you were playing Villains and Vigilantes in the entire world, you were on my forum. I was keeping interest in this a lot. And at one point at 2000, I think a copyright or something expired, because what happened was Fantasy Games Unlimited, owned by Scott Bazaar, owned the copyright to the game. So back in Roslyn, New York, there was a strategy store called Waterloo. And Bill Willingham was there, Jeff D, Jack Herman, and Scott Bazaar, I think, was the owner. And they went to Scott Bazaar with yellow legal pad paper and whatever, and said, this is our game. Scott Bazaar put out like 30 grand of his own money and had the game published. It was owned by Jeff D and Jack Herman, but Scott Bazaar owned the publishing rights, Like I said to Jeff D, who took the big risk here? I said, it's not about creating. I said, you guys came in with notes on a piece of paper. I did the same thing. I did the same exact thing. I had notes on paper for a role-playing game, but Scott Bazaar turned it into a game. He turned it into a company. He published it at his own risk. If V&V failed, who would have lost their shirt? Jeff D or Jack Herman or Scott Bazaar? And he doesn't like me. So there you go. That's why Jack Herman, to his grace, has been quiet about the whole thing. So something goes on. They sue. They lose. And now Jeff D is coming at me, the guy who kept this game in. He's going to sue me because I have this logo on my forum, which I still do. That, he's, I said, go ahead, sue me. What do you want? And I said, nobody. And then he broke off and he made third version of Villains Vigilantes, but he calls it Living Legends, and it's terrible. And it went nowhere. And there you go. And, Jeff D is a super militant atheist who's yelling and screaming at everybody. I was in his Facebook group for a while, and I just left. I just can't deal with that. There's nothing worse. Okay. Here we go. No, John, Jeff and Jack own the copyright. Bazaar held the trademark. Okay, I get them confused. Thanks, Kevin, for clarifying that. I'm not a legal person, but it was actually the company, not Bazaar person. Okay, well, all right. Thank you for clearing that up. I'm not trying to mislead. I just don't know the difference between trademark and copyright. I don't really know. But Kevin knows everything. That's why I say he's my co-host half the time. Thank you, Kevin. But they were going to sue me. And then Scott Bazaar, well, he's going to do a reprinting of all of this. And he's out in Arizona now. I think he's a retired school teacher. They contact me. Hey, you're the guy that's been keeping Villains Vigilantes in the public eye. Why don't you come on out here? And, we're going to open up a store and sell stuff, and you come and, promote your phone. I was like, yeah, sure. That sounds good. And then I'm like, well, what's in it for me? And he's like, well, I'll buy you a ticket. I'm like, oh, okay, a plane ticket? He's like, no, a ticket to the convention. I'm like, so that's $25. So for $25, I got to take a week off of work, get a hotel room, pay for food. I'm like, I'll pass. I don't mean to be a jerk, but like, I'm an electrician. You got to meet my pay rate if you want me to take a week off work. So I never met Scott Bizarre. So if anybody in the chat, Kevin Ryan, Kevin Ryan, powers activate. I reached out and I emailed Fantasy Games Unlimited about my upcoming comic. My upcoming comic is The Patriarch, which I don't know if I should admit this or not, but hell, I'm going to admit this. It was my role playing character. It was my role playing character. And I was the game master, so he was an NPC, but he was one of the superheroes in my world. And here's some more artwork that I have loaded up. That's his first appearance on page 2, and that's page 1. That's the opening page of the comic. Look at how beautiful that is. Oh, I just got color. I got to approve the colors. This is his symbol. I can't wait. I can't wait for everybody to see this. But anyway, we'll put that over there. I'm playing with all my toys. Sorry. But anyway, I said, since this is going to be heavily influenced by my V&V stuff, why don't we cross promote it? I'll put like V&V stats in the back of the comic, and I'll promote your product. And I have never heard from him. So if anybody knows Scott Bizarre, if anybody has an in with Fantasy Games Unlimited, tell them, I'm this is all good faith. I'm doing it because I love this game. This game is a huge part of my life. I love it. So. Oh, okay. Kevin got some clarification. Trademark is the origin of the product. Copyright is the right. Okay. All right. That explains things better than anybody has explained to me in the past 50 years. One freaking sentence. I think at this point, which is Scott could release the original. Yes, they could release they could release this rule book, the second edition, and their own new stuff. And D and Herman could release other stuff as provided it's like modules. Yeah, they own Monkey House Games, and ever since Jeff D threatened to sue me, I want nothing to do with that jerk. I used harsher terms, but I'm older and I'm wiser. So there we are. You're all caught up on my drama and everything. And believe me, I used to be the worst. Is anybody a member of or used to be a member of a Newsarama or the Outhouse? I forget. I think it was whatever. Newsarama was a comic book site. I was Food Eater Lad there, man. I was the notorious Food Eater Lad, the lone conservative in a sea of liberal comic book people, and I was the boogeyman. They hated me. They banned me. Why? Because I was the lone conservative. But anyway, I digress. So let's get back into this. So this is the rule. Look at this. For years, this is all you need. And I'm convinced that this is one of the reasons why Villains Vigilante is relatively unheard. Seems like you guys in the chat over here heard of the game. Let me know if you've played. Kevin, have you played? Let me know if you played this game. But I think because it's so succinct, you really don't need anything. Somewhere around 2000. I'm a school teacher now. I'm working. I've graduated college. Me and my friends are playing. I started to realize the the limitations on this game. So I made up house rules. And again, I can't type in. I can only point the mouse, but I can't manipulate the keyboard and type because I'll mess with the tripod. But if you go to Villains and Vigilante, www.villainsandvigilantesforum.com, and you click on the banner where it says boom, you'll see my house rules. And my house rules are bigger than this pamphlet, this comic book size pamphlet. And the reason why I'm doing this is today at 12 o'clock, like I said, I have my friend Jimmy, who I've been playing with since I learned the game back in 1983, 1982. He's playing, and I got 4 other guys that are playing at noon, and we're going to film it. Roy is a photographer. He said he'd edit it. So I'm going to film it today from character creation, from rolling out characters to hopefully finishing the short session and giving out experience points and leveling up. So we're going to film that all. And then he says he'll put it in half-hour segments, and I will release that as a series of videos. So I hope you're interested in that. Okay, so Marcus says he has not played. Okay. Kevin, have I played V&V since 1984, John? Wow, Kevin, do you still play? Because you live close. Why don't you come down here for a weekend and we'll play? That would be fun. Good morning. Oh, yeah, I am very magnificent. And Tank Ferret, you are super magnificent. Yes. I remember you saying that. Okay, I guess they're talking. I too have been threatened with lawsuits by Jeff D. It's a V&V merit bet. Wow, Kevin, what have you been threatened by? What have you been threatened by? You want to know how bad it is? It really hurt my feelings, first off. And second off, I went to a Gary Con in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. It's a D&D convention for Dungeons & Dragons people. Because it was fun because all the guys who posted on my forum went there. So I got to meet a bunch of people for the first and only time. And we actually played a big session of V&V. It was a lot of fun. First off, I got to be a player. I've only been a player 4 times in 20 years. I'm always the game master. So I got to be a player, and it was a lot of fun. It was cool. I made up Sergeant Stone, and Sergeant Stone was an homage to all the old war characters. He was a sergeant that was petrified turned stone. So he had a machine gun and he was made out of stone. I loved him. And he talked in like stereotypes. He'd be like, I know you're scared. I'm scared too. You'd be crazy not to be scared. Now let's go out there and get him. It was fun. He had a cigar. I loved it. It was a blast. And then so anyway, I forgot what I was saying. I got so caught up in the fun. So I went there. Oh yeah, that's right. I went there and they were having an auction. And I don't know if you guys know, but the second edition Dungeons & Dragons second edition Deities and Demigods is one of my favorite books of anything. And Jeff D did an illustration of Thor that I have always loved. I had the original artwork in my hand, $150, and I just couldn't buy it because Jeff D is such a cock. There you go. I cursed. Holy moly, that's a blast from the past. Never the player. That's me and Paranoia. Oh, you played Paranoia? I've always wanted to play that. I love those ads. I always love the ads in the comics. V&V showed up in the game groups I played for a while back in the day, much like Traveler. Traveler. I used to call Traveler Math the board game. I liked Traveler. It was fun, but it seemed like all we were doing was fixing the engines to our spaceships. My main group was AD&D and board games. Yeah, I'm into board games a lot now, and I do not get to role play as much. And to tell you the truth, working on this comic book is getting my storytelling fix out of the way. So I would like to I'd like to play V&V more often. I live in Long Island. If anybody in this group lives in Long Island or nearby and wants to play, hit me up. We'll see what we can do. I suggest someone do a V&V clone because it was hard to get that rule book. Jeff D threatened to see, even if I noticed you can't copyright. Yep, yeah, that's Jeff D for you. You can buy the rule books. I have 5 copies because I started realizing it was getting harder and harder to buy, and now I found out that there's what's it called? There's a store right by Men at Arms Hobby Stores. I'm gonna buy a couple extra copies just for that. I'd 100% buy a Sergeant Stone comic. I'm thinking of throwing him into one of my comics. If you all back my comic, which will be on Fund My Comic in a few months, and I make enough money because I'm laying out all the money for first issue. If I could make enough to make a second issue and then pay it forward like that, we will eventually get to Sergeant Stone. My son loves Paranoia. He collects board games. I collect board games too. If you see like my conversations in the back behind me, it's all board games. All right, so we ready to open up this book? I gave you all of my drama, all of my history. I almost gave you all my coffee. I just took a sip. So now I use this is what I use plus my house rules for all of my settings. This Sunday, I'm just talking about this base rules. Next Sunday, I will actually talk about my world, and my world will be, for the most part, my comic book world. So you'll get spoilers of my comic book world. But you know what? whatever. All right, so let's look at this. So here we go. We're opening up now. I always love this V&V badge. Credit where credit is due. Writer Jeff D. Jack Herman. Illustrator. Oh, one more point that I want to make. So I said I always wanted to see a comic book done in Jeff D's artwork. Look at this. Excellent. It's harsh lines. It's a little stiff, but man, did I love this. I love this artwork. And then he made a V&V comic book, and the art is terrible. The art, they did a 3rd edition rule book of Villains and Vigilantes. Jeff D, I don't know if he had a stroke. His art is terrible. I'm starting to think that whoever inked this was the talent, because the V&V artwork for the comic book is amateurish at best. I wouldn't hire him to do anything. Oh, yes, absolutely, Kevin. I totally agree. That's why I bought 4 copies back then, because it was impossible to get. Now they reprinted it. It's easy to get. Yes, I 100% absolutely agree. Yeah. And I blame me. I blame me that you could get this. My foreign, we used to have like 500 people. It was a message board. Remember message board? I love this. This Adisha. This was Jeff D's character, the Gauntlet. These are the play testers. And I was into this. I made up all character sheets for all of these guys. I loved it. So here's the introduction. Again, I don't know how far I'll get in an hour with me talking for 30 minutes, but this is all the stats, breaks it down what they are. This is the powers. So, I house rule a little bit, because the purpose of the game is to have fun, but I also learned the hard way, because that's the way I learned everything, is the hard way. I never learned anything the easy way, that if you make a character too powerful, dominates the game and it's not fun for everybody else. So it's okay to have a super powerful player if you play in 1-on-1, but if you got a team and one guy's super powerful, my core group for years was my friend Paul and my friend Jan. Paul was a tank. At first level, he had 300 hit points. He could lift 60 tons, and he was just super powerful. And Jan's character, I think, had 12 hit points. But it was Batman and Superman. Jan liked to solve puzzles and get the clues and everything like that. Paul liked to beat everybody. So we played up to that. That was never a problem. If you're into role-playing games, if you're Hackett/Munchkin, God bless you. You're going to ruin this game, because it's supposed to be superheroes, and superheroes act and behave a certain way. You don't defeat the Swordmaster villain and then take his sword and incorporate it into your costume, as some of my friends have done. I'm like, dude, that's not what superheroes do. Spider-Man doesn't beat Dr. Octopus and then wear Dr. Octopus's arms, but anyway, I digress. So this is powers. So you roll percentile dice, 1 to 100, and you get these powers. Now the game says you roll up. I forget superpowers. 1d6 plus 2. And you know what? I played with other things. I go back to that. 1d6 plus 2. And then I have extra powers that I made up in my house rules, and then I have clarifications of things that have happened in the past decades. Okay. So these are the powers. Superman has the power to fly. Spider-Man has the power to stick to walls. These are devices. Captain America has a shield. Spider-Man has web shooters. These are magic and psionic items. Doctor Strange has spells. A psionic item. I had to clarify that, because people always like, what's the difference? And I'll talk about psionic versus magic next week when I talk about my actual world building. These are skills. Batman has a lot of skills. Daredevil has the heightened senses power, but it's mostly like super skills. And then these are magic items, like the Eye of Agamotto. That's a magic item. Doctor Strange's levitation cloak. That's an item. And then over here is actual magic psionic abilities, like Jean Grey has telekinesis and telepathy and things like that. Okay, cosmic awareness, one of my favorite powers. And then weaknesses. So this was something that I absolutely loved. You get 1d6. So you roll a die 6, you roll a 4, you get 6 powers. And then you roll 1 weakness, and I call it the finagle factor. I got plenty of finagle factors. Okay, so now I'm going to turn the page and I will address some of these comments. Oh, Marcus, you need to draw the patriarch. Please do, Marcus. If you I'm trying to drum up interest. If you want to draw the Patriarch, email me at johnslongbox@yahoo.com, or message me at Twitter at Zentorian2000, which I my original one got blown up because I said something stupid. And if you need reference material, let me know. Because man, I'm getting so excited. Thank you, Marcus. And I might be, if things go well, I would like to work with Marcus on a project in the future. V&V is great like D&D, but yes, I'm going to get to that, Kevin. You're jumping ahead. As everything, Kevin is super intelligent, smarter than me. 3 issues of V&V skill, open-ended, hit is too low. Oh, okay. All right. And characters of 2 million. Yeah. Yep. All right. I'll address that. You're getting ahead of me. Mega powered characters out of control. That's why God's game up. Invent. Yep. Okay. So this I love is it takes your weight into consideration. The bigger you are, the heavier you are, your agility goes down. And agility is the super stat in this game. Strength. Now, this is what I like. If you have so you roll 3 dice 6. So you, just like Dungeons & Dragons, you can have a 3 to 18 and everything. And statistically, 9, 10, and 11 is 1. That's your hit point modifier. So unlike Dungeons & Dragons, where you have an 18 strength, an 18 endurance, an 18 intelligence, and an 18, just say in Dungeons & Dragons you have an 18 and everything, and then you're a wizard, you roll 1 hit point. Oh, you know what I mean? So if you have an 18 strength, it gives you a modifier of 1.6, and then you have an 18 endurance, you have a modifier of 2.2. So what you do is you write all these modifiers down on your sheet, which I have my player's sheet right here. So that's your hit. So so he has a strength of 32 because what the power is plus 16. So he's super strong. So the 32 strength gives him a modifier of 2.2. The endurance is 26 because he has heightened endurance. The modifier is 3. And then this is the modifier for intelligence. This is the modifier for agility. And then I made up a stat called will. So you will not find that in the rule book. But in a superhero game, you need to have will. And this powers all the mental abilities and the ability to fight mental abilities and things like that. And then you multiply them all together. You got a hit modifier of 9.7. And then this is what I love. So this is your hit points as far as all your stats are concerned. But then your weight, he's 240 pounds. Basic hits is basically the hit points of your corpse. So you divide your weight by 50 and you're supposed to round it to 5, but I don't like that. I like it more subtle if you keep it to the 10th. So 4.8. You multiply them together. This guy has 47 hit points, and it's all an extension of his abilities. And who is this? This is the main bad guy, Reichenstein. Reichenstein is a Frankenstein Nazi that is the Nazi undead villain of my game for today. Don't tell my players. They're going to go to an island where there's Nazis, and they're going to find Reichenstein is controlling all the indigenous life. And then there's going to be one girl. She's named Vavavoom. Vavavoom is a 9 foot tall. She's giant size. She's 9 foot tall. Beautiful cave woman who grew up on the island. Who may or may not be the daughter of Amelia Earhart. And this poor naive girl has been raised by Reichenstein, so she's loyal to him, but she's not bad. So there you go. And she could carry 8,000 pounds, so she could do 2 die 10 with a punch. Now, I want to address what Kevin says. Okay, I'm going to go back to Kevin's comment. 3 issue magic skills too open-ended. Yes. So I do not let new players have magic because yes, it's too open-ended. You need to prove to me that you could deal with the game and that you could come up with solutions to your own problems. So tonight nobody will be getting magic. There's powers that I just outright deny. Nope, you can't have that power because of reasons. And I have a feeling one of the guys is going to argue with me. HTH is to hit is too low. HTH is hand to hand, so a punch is too low. Yes, it's lower than 25%. Yes, it's 25%, but I think I fixed that. And I'll address that. And then giant characters have 2 million hit points. Yes, but like I said, giant characters are also super slow. So to the point where everybody else, because based on your agility, you can have more than one action a turn, and also determines your initiative, and then next thing you know, you do not want to be a giant character because you go once a turn, and then you're a target. You can't dodge, you can't do anything, and you're taking all the damage. All right, this is the intelligence chart. Notice the intelligence gives you the least amount of hit modifiers, but it makes sense. But it also, the smarter you are, you get plus to damage. And this is your detect hidden. So this is like your intuition. I love that. That's a big deal in my game. And then agility. So as they say that they messed up, that they gave the hit point modifiers, that this is supposed to be for strength, and then the strength is supposed to be for agility. But I've made up thousands of NPCs. I have thousands of sheets. I'm not going to change it now. But the more agile you are, the more damage you do, and the more accurate you are. And I always tell people, when in doubt, train in agility. And then this is your charisma modifiers. I do not use this chart at all. I've completely house ruled it, made it super easy. And then this is an explanation of what everything is. And then this is how much damage you do with the punch. In a bare knuckle punch, if you could bench press 30 pounds, you do 1 point of damage. But if you could bench press 10,000 pounds, you do 2d10 damage. Now, if you're quick and accurate, you get this. So with the willpower, with the will stat, I also give you the same damage modifier and agility. You're just determined. So if your will is, say, 20, you get an extra +2 damage, and you get an extra +3 hit. So that gives you a modifier. And I also take care of it. You could train. There's no skill system in this book. I made up a skill system. I also made a critical hit system. You could check it all out in my house rules. So between the skills, you could train in what you're missing. You could train in hand-to-hand combat. You could train in swords. You could train in your own powers, and that'll give you pluses to hit. And then also, if you notice that all the packages are in groups of 3s, so if you're at 1st to 3rd level, you get a plus to hit. You get a -2B hit. There's a whole level-to-level chart that's just, it's simpler is better. So I simpled. So Kevin, I think I adjusted the abilities to hit and miss. Because originally it was just like, if it's funny because you need to roll low. So if you roll a 1, it's the best. If you roll a 20, it's a fumble. You're rolling the dice, and most of the time you were missing. It was very frustrating, but I think I fixed it. And then these are explanations of all the powers. And if you go to my house rules, you will see further clarifications, like this force field power. This power was basically a weakness, the way it was written in the book. I changed it so that it's almost too powerful, but then again, it's a force field. You did not see that coming. Yes, and in the game, they come with the organization like SHIELD. It's called CHESS, the central headquarters of espionage for the Secret Service. But then I change it to the central headquarters of espionage and strategic surveillance, because Secret Service is I didn't like that. Ice powers is one of the most powerful powers in the game, and whatever lightning powers, just all this, this character, we all wrote up character sheets for her. Every character that shows up in this game, we made up. I forget what we called her. I think I called her Dash before the movie. And this, my friend Jimmy, we were little kids. We were 11 years old. He made up this character. It became the Dark Warrior. And he used this character before I went to Albuquerque. And then when I came back from Albuquerque, he made up his own, he joined that campaign. And I already said that for kids, that was a different world in the multiverse. And they went on an adventure, and the Dark Warrior came back, and he got to finish out the Dark Warrior's story. And it was awesome. It was a lot of fun. I brought back bad guys from when we were little kids. I thought it was fun. Weather control, it's simple and elegant, but there's subtleties that needed explaining. This is the experience point chart. The math was wrong, so it caused problems. So I went online and I found another experience point chart. And training, which I absolutely love. This was before Dungeons & Dragons allowed training. So you could train. You could pick what you're training in. You could, as you go up a level, you could get a +1 a stat. So you have an 11 agility. You go up a level, you now have a 12 agility, and we recalculate your hit points and everything like that. And I always tell my player characters, when in doubt, train in agility. You could lose weight. You could gain weight, combat accuracy, combat damage, education, animal training, whatever. Knowledge areas. I'll get to knowledge areas. And this is the chart. I never explain this to characters, especially at the first time we play, because it's weird. So hand to hand, this is what Kevin's talking about. So this is the base. Up here is the base. So if you are just if Fred, John's Longbox and Kevin Ryan are fighting. Okay, so we have no powers, we have nothing. I go to throw a punch at Kevin Ryan. I need to roll a 5 on a die 20. So 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5s are hits. Everything else is a miss. Okay, that's the base. You have no defense, you have nothing. And then Kevin retaliates, he throws a punch, he needs to. So we're going to be whiffing the whole time. We're going to be the only RPG where dieting helps. Yes. Losing weight increases your strength and endurance. Yes. And gaining weight gives you hit points, but it will slow you down. So when you gain weight, you could take off a point of strength. You could take off a point of endurance. So if your strength goes from 14 to 13, you could gain 13 pounds. I changed it. That's too. I just said, do you want to gain weight? You're training and weight gain. How much do you want to weigh? And they that's what they get. But you're gonna get modifiers on your agility. But anyway, I digress. So because of this, also your agility counts. There's a level bonus that counts. So the average person is probably going to throw a punch and hit on an 8 or a 9. So what is that? That's 55% of the time, which I think is reasonable. Most of the time when you throw a punch in a fight, you block, you put up your arm or whatever. You're not really doing damage. So I think I fixed that. Now, these are the different attack types. So like chemical power, so that's like you spraying somebody with acid, disintegration beams and whatever, emotion control, flame powers. These are all iconic superhero powers. So, but here's where it gets interesting, is hand to hand towards astral projection. So now you are a ghost. It's a 0. Now, according to the games, it's a 0, but say I have +4 accuracy and I roll a 2, I still hit. No, in my game, some zeros, I put it on my player screen. I got to put it on. This is actually a different version of the book that I use. I put asterisks. If there's an X asterisk, you're immune. So if you are throwing a punch at an astral projected body, you can't hit. You cannot hit. But, so look at this disintegration beam. Most defenses don't work. This is one of the best powers to have as far as nothing can get through it. So, you're using a power blast, which is like Cyclops' eye beam to astral projection. It's harder to hit. Over here, a force field, power blast to a force field, a power blast to a power blast has a base 16. Everybody loves power blast because it's one power point. So I need to explain that. In the game, you have hit points. In Dungeons & Dragons, you just have hit points. And what I love about this is your stat gives you a modifier that causes you hit points. Everything's interconnected. It's a little bit of math, but it's not that confusing. But also, you have power. So if you add up your strength, your endurance, your agility, your intelligence, and your will, that number is how much power you have. That is the fuel. That tells you how tired you are. So in Villains and Vigilantes, it's designed to be less lethal. If you lose all your hit points, so you have 0 hit points. Okay, let's look at Bavavoom. Bavavoom, she has 61 hit points, 87 power. So if her hit points get down to 0, she's knocked unconscious. Okay, so if she has 61 hit points and her power is down to 0, she's fatigued, she's tired. Okay, so the only way to die is if you have 0 hit points and 0 power. So the game is designed not to be lethal. It's like a comic book. How often do the bad guys die? How often do the superheroes die? And I love it. And remember, disintegration are effective stun beams unless you're dead. So you can take out Super Duper Man. Yes. When the players find out that the bad guys have disintegration beams, they are nervous. So this is a chart. So if you're first level and you're fighting a first level guy, you have a -1. And now if you have a -1, it's counterintuitive, but after like a 5 minutes of playing, you'll figure it out. So your hand-to-hand chart is 5. You have -1. So this goes to a 4. It does not affect your die roll. None of the modifiers affect your die roll. Because it seems like, oh, I have +6 to hit. You roll the dice, you rolled an 11, and then you tell me 17. I'm like, you rolled a 17? No, I rolled a 6. No, well, tell me what you rolled. Do not tell me I modify it. So you tell me you have a +7. So you have a +7 to this. So this becomes a 12. They roll the dice. If they roll 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up to 12, then they hit. It doesn't change the die roll. Does that make sense to everybody? So this that 5 will become a 4. I did away with this completely. And I have a new. This I use a lot. Effective range in inches. If I just hope none of my players are watching this. They're going to see all the stats. But Va-Va-Voom has 99 movement points. This is supposed to be 99 inches. Why they call it inches? Because you're supposed to play on graph paper on a grid, and you use chits, and each square is a square inch in the original game, which in reality, it's 5 feet. So I just call them movement points instead of inches because it's confusing. So she has 99 movement points. Every time she spends a movement point, she can move 5 feet. And because I play Theater of the Mind. We don't use any paper. We don't use any pencils. Well, we use pencils to write, but we don't draw. We don't use models and stuff like that. So, and I changed this instead of inches. This is feet. Okay. So if you're 31 to 60 feet away, you have a minus to hit. And I also use this as your speed. So if you're moving at 99, you have a -2 to be hit, because it's harder to hit a moving target. It's harder, and it's cumulative. So, a fast character could really avoid damage just by moving. And then we got, so here's what I like. So if you throw a punch, you get your basic HDH damage. But if you are holding a sword, you get +2 to hit. You do your base HDH damage plus another 1d6. That blew me away. In Dungeons & Dragons, you have a sword. You do what? 1d6, 1d8, depending on the sword. And then your strength gives you +2 damage. And this, your strength gives you a base dice to roll. So your strength gives you a die 8. And then your sword gives you another die 8. So you do 2 dice. And then down here is technological, like energy guns and pistols and stuff like that. So obviously they don't use the HTH, and obviously you don't get as tired using them. And then hitting people with trucks. So if you pick up a rock or a truck or something like that, I just love it. Oh, and this is velocity damage. So the faster the object is moving, like a bullet, I don't add the velocity damage. But if you're throwing a truck at somebody, there's a little formula, figure out how fast it goes, and you it is great. You pick it up. Somebody's robbing the Brinks truck. The bad guy picks up the big Brinks truck and throws it at the hero. They're doing the damage based on their weight and the velocity. It is so freaking funny. Yes, Kevin, you're absolutely right. Good memory. I wasn't going to get into that, but yes, if you take the movement rate, you divide it by 4.4, you get the miles per hour, which is good. Like with speed, it's good to conceptualize how fast you move. So this is the loyalty table. I do not use this at all. I use a more simpler system. So let's look at Va-Va-Voom again. Her charisma is 34 because she's beautiful. She has heightened charisma. So you're going to roll a die 20. She rolls a 7. 34 minus 7 is 27. You have a plus 27 reaction to her, and I base everything on the average person has a 10 in everything. So an average person, the best reaction you can get from somebody is if you roll a 1, you have a plus 9. So, that is my basis of comparison, and then this is backgrounds, this is a whole page about the organization chess, which I used. I just disbanded them because I knew I was going to start making a comic book. So I disbanded chess in the game, and I'm replacing it with, anybody get an idea for an organization? I'm leaning towards just Aegis. It looks like it should be spelling something, but it's just Aegis. So I'm thinking that might be the name of my organization. This is how to random characters. And then this is super important. This is knowledge areas. So this is race. This is races of your character. This is knowledge areas. So when you roll this out, you get 2 knowledge areas. You roll this twice, and it gives you like, what does your character know? But I also tell the players that you could pick it. You could pick it. Why wouldn't you? If it exists in the real world, you could pick it. And then these are rolling up random adventures. And then the rest of this book is laws. the actual law system. And then in the back, they got some interesting stuff about animals. And there you go. That's V and V. Guys, hold on 1 second. I got to go take care of something. I'll be right back. Give me a minute. I'm sorry about that. There was somebody wandering on my front lawn. It turned out it was an exterminator. My wife is at church, and I was like, "Who is wandering around on my front lawn?" Okay, I apologize for that. I just got a little nervous. I didn't even know how I knew that. I can see that. Insert Jeopardy music. What's this comment of it? I dig running games in literary world settings. I've been running Cyberpunk in the world of Scalpel Zero. Oh, cool. If you tune in next week on Sunday Comics, I'm going to show the world that I made. Everybody start humming to yourselves. I'm back. Hopefully I didn't change. Oh, there's still 10 people. Okay, so what else do I want to show? I showed a character sheet. So this is my character sheets for my players. I print out sheets for this is me. So Vavavoom is the sexy giant cave girl character. I imagine her drawn by Frank Cho. You know, she's going to come out with a club. She wears a leopard skin like a cave woman outfit, and she can be swayed too good. These are her powers: heightened charisma, heightened strength, lowered intelligence because she was raised on an island with Nazis. Giant size. She's 9 feet tall and she weighs 408 pounds. Basically, humanity is another stat that I made up. So I made up a humanity stat and I made up a will stat, and you can see the rules for that in the game. Humanity is how good you are. How good you are. The higher your humanity, the more good you are. So in my game, there's 3 ways to lose your character. You get killed. That's basic. Your character's dead, or your humanity goes to 0, in which case you become a raving lunatic, serial killing bad guy, and I take your character. Oh, this is awesome, Kevin. Vavavoom, Agent of Chest. That is awesome. Can you play this game as a supervillain? The rules tell you no, but yes, I've had fun supervillain campaigns, but the caveat is everybody's got to be a supervillain, or you're playing with just one player. You know, all the players have to be supervillains. You know, otherwise it just doesn't work. But I also tell them, don't love your character, because I've got super powerful superheroes. So if you're going to go out and do like major crimes, I got superhero teams. I got the Patriarch. You know, I got Peacekeeper. I got Captain Atlas. These guys are going to crush you, and you're going to, you know, you don't want to role play being in jail forever. So yes, I've had supervillain campaigns. A lot of them were a lot of fun, but they get defeated after a while, and then they come back to superheroes. Yes, Kevin, you're supposed to play yourself, grow, but you can know that too. Yes, we tried it. We tried it once. It was not fun. We tried it once. You're supposed to play yourself. So you assign yourself an intelligence, a charisma store. Screw that. It was not fun. It was not fun. It was not funny. So I made up a humanity. And what do I use humanity for? To me, it replaces alignment. Okay. So in my game, you know, you are Kevin Ryan, and Kevin Ryan is Hero Man. So Hero Man is walking down the street whistling when he hears help, and he turns and the building's on fire, and he sees a woman, you know, holding a baby, and the building's on fire. Now, right then and there, I will say make a humanity roll. So Kevin will make a humanity. Whenever I say make a roll and I don't assign a dice, it's a die 20. So Kevin will take a die 20. He'll roll the dice, and let's just say that Kevin rolled an 8. 8 is under his humanity score. Okay, the higher your humanity, the more good you are. Kevin's conscience is telling him, I have to go help. I have to help that lady. I have to go help that baby. I'm a hero. Now, it's a game. It's a role-playing game. He has action. He has free will. If he ignores his conscience and ignores that lady, it's too dangerous. I'm scared of fire. I need to get home. Aunt May needs her medicine. He ignores it and he continues. His humanity he'll lose a point of humanity. His humanity will go from 11 to 10. And you could slowly lose your humanity. And, like Ted Bundy's humanity was like 2. You know what I mean? Whereas like Superman's humanity would be like 19 or 20. Does that make sense? Batman, I think his humanity is 16 or 17. Keep in mind that 9 is the average. So now let's go back to that scenario. Kevin, Hero Man, rolls the 8. He decides to act and he goes to save the lady. As soon as he decides to do the good thing, 8 minus 11 is 3. He gets 300 experience points. So, he's rewarded for doing the right thing. He gets 300 experience points. That's my house rule. All right. Now, also humanity, people want you have humanity because I have a legal cheat system called karma. Any die roll that the player uses, you could use karma to affect the die roll. So you say, oh man, you roll the dice. I say you missed. You're like, oh man, I really need to succeed right here. So I want to lower the dice by 5. Okay. So right away you spend 500 experience points. Okay. You're burning, and experience points in my game are an extension of your soul. So he's burning up his soul to do something. He spends 500 experience points. That's lost right away. Then you roll humanity. Kevin's character rolls humanity. He rolled a 12. Well, he just lost that. He gambled and he lost. Another scenario, Kevin rolls. He rolls a 7. It's under his humanity. That karma is succeed. He gets 5, and then he the 5 may be enough to change the dice from a failure to a success, or it still might be a failure. If it still failed, he could do karma again. But once it failed, it's over. So my friend Jimmy, I'm not even joking. His character hasn't leveled up in 2 years because he keeps spending karma. He's like, I'm a good guy. I'm a good guy. I'm a good guy, to the point where he has to stop spending karma because he's losing all his experience points. So, and anybody could do it. Bad guys could do karma, but bad guys have a lower chance of karma because they have lower humanities. What is this? This says Metascore. This is another thing that I made up. Okay. So only beings with meta powers. That's what they're called, meta powers in my game. All right. If you have a meta power, then you get a meta score. And the higher the meta score, the better. So Vavavoom is not really in that much danger of going crazy. So once you get powers, your meta score is 20. Okay. Then for every power you have, you subtract 1. So 20. So this is 19, 18, 17. For every weakness, we add 1. So this is 8. So this is 19, 18, 17, 18 again. And then I add your level. 18 plus 4 is 22. So her meta score is 22. Every time you roll, anytime your meta score changes, anytime your Metascore changes for any, you roll a die 20. If you roll over your Metascore, you get metapsychosis. You go crazy. Because in my game, all powers come from the brain. Even if you're invulnerable, even if you transform, you do that because basically you think you do it. And you have no doubt in your mind. You affect reality with your thoughts. That's why I had to make up a will stat. If you go metapsychotic, so your superhero name is Thor, and you're like, yeah, I'm a superhero, and I dress up like Thor, and then you fail your metascore at some point. You start to believe you really are the god of thunder. That's fine. You're metapsychotic. You are crazy. Your thoughts, you think you're Thor so much that you actually believe that you are the Norse god, and then you walk around thinking and then somebody challenges you. If somebody challenges you, we have these things called inventing points. Inventing points are brilliant ideas. You could use inventing points to learn skills. You could use inventing points to make spells. You could use inventing points to create gadgets and gear for yourself. But you could also use a inventing point like, listen, John, I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. Where is the bad guy? You use one whole point, and then this is your chance of success. Remember, she's dumb, whereas Reichenstein is not too dumb. He has a 45. And then you spend the point and you roll the dice, and then I could give you a clue or whatever. But they're limited. They're limited. You get new inventing points every time you level up. I'm not going to get into all of the ways you get them. But if you're metapsychotic, somebody says to you, "You're not really Thor." If you're really Thor, then how come your hammer doesn't return to you when you so you're like, and you spend an inventing point, you roll the thing, and you literally alter reality to fit your delusion. I could make a joke about the modern world right now, but whatever. So, in my game, there's a villain called the Subhuman. He's a Submariner ripoff. The Subhuman is just, he can breathe underwater and he's super strong and he's invulnerable. In the middle of a game, he went metapsychotic. Something caused his metascore to change. He went metapsychotic. He believes he's the king of Atlantis. Well, there is no Atlantis. His brain went so far as to create Atlantis. So he spent an inventing point. He made a success, and there was an earthquake on an island. It sunk. Those people became Atlantic. They look like sea monkeys from the comic. They were transformed into sea monkeys, and he's their king. So the metapsychosis is dangerous. In my game, again, I'm getting into world building. There's a world, a planet, where they fear metapsychosis so bad that they hunt and kill all meta beings, all superheroes. Doesn't matter where. They have spacefaring technology. So they've been at war with Earth ever since they discovered that humans have because you could literally destroy the universe. I have one character named Judgment who believed that he was an emissary of the Demiurge, and he could judge whether or not worlds get to exist or not. He was my Thanos level villain, and he would destroy planets based on and no planet ever. So that was a fun freaking adventure. Oh my God. That was great. So, there's alien races that take out supervillain because they fear them. So there you go. I've been talking for an hour. Anybody got anything to say? Let's check the comments. So we're back to Vavavoom, Agent of Chest. In VV supposed to, yes, we were talking about what is Chest, the Center for Human Enhanced Sensory Secondary Treats. Teats. Booba, Bureau of Overpowered Bad Assets. There we go. Champ, the Chief Headquarters Advanced Mammalian Protuberances. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Anybody else got anything to say? Anybody, tune in next week. I'll make up charts and graphs and explain how insane I am with the world that I've created. But I think this is enough. I got to prepare. Everybody's coming over at noon for my role-playing game. So I'm going to get out of here. Thanks a lot, guys. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye. Well, I'll see you tomorrow with another video, but I'll do Sunday Comics next week. All right. Bye-bye, everybody.